this radio show like a verbal Trans Am, and here they are. Yeah. 10:04. It's 30 days from quite the important NFL draft for your Minnesota Vikings. And, the numbers of it all. The life changer unfurls in 30 days. The Minnesota Vikings have picks 11, 23, 108, 129, 157, 167, 177, 230, and 232. And a whole heap of Vikings fans hoping for another number, specifically number 9.
2 receivers each side, 5 in the pattern. McCarthy flush, steps up, gonna throw on the run, touchdown!
McCarthy doubles out of the pocket and launches. End zone, Wilson! That had a vapor trail on.
All righty, 30 days to the draft and 30 quick-fire statements, opinions, questions, takes, and talkers. And if one bites you in any way, it's a we text and talk back more than people know Tuesday. So fire away at the old 64686 for the texting and text away or fire up a talk back via the free iHeartRadio app. And here they are.
I must add to that McCarthy talker, PA. Did anything you heard from the head coach, if you're listening to 9 to noon, lean you in a direction other than number 9 into April's draft? Reading and leading yourself through the tea leaves.
Yes, it's number 1 of the 30. McCarthy would be a fine quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Number 2, Drake May is the right quarterback for the Vikings overall, but let's put it this way. Is Drake May the right quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings overall, eliminating Caleb Williams from the equation? Number 3, don't think for a second they can't get the 4 or 5 spot while keeping the 23, because they can. Ooh! I said buzzer, not the...
I love it. I'm sorry.
Don't for a second. I ain't saying it's going to happen.
I'm ruining your entire bit. I'm just excited.
No, it's fine. It's awesome. But seriously, don't for a second think they cannot get to the Cardinals or Chargers draft spot while keeping 23, because they can.
It's a grand slam if it happens.
Number 4, President and owner Mark Wilf yesterday was gushing 9 to noon about the work that has been done with the defense. Does everybody agree with Sir Mark Wilf, copyright Dan Cole, the common man, or are you like, not so fast, Festus? But those were the opinions of the president and owner yesterday. 64686 for the texting, and text and or talk back more than people know via the free iHeartRadio app. Number 5, Dalton Reisner is still a free agent. Crazy. Number 6, the Vikings still are about 20, maybe 24 million under the cap. Consider Jadeveon Clowney, all right? Last year he played on a $1 and $2.25 million piece for Harbaugh. Got a small signing bonus too. All right. He outperformed his contract. How about $1 and $5 million to be a rotational cog in Flores' bit? Jadeveon Clowney.
How confident are you as a fan out there with Grenard and Van Ginkel as your atopic pass rushing outside linebackers? Big part of that, Jadeveon Clowney, whether it's his name, but looking forward, we've mentioned draft capital and all of those things, what's available to us in cash. How confident are you in how that thing frames up right now? I think 30 days in front of the draft, that's a talker among Rubes, PA.
How much money does gray area generally make people?
Not a lot.
I always love that one.
And the only reason I'm gray area guy on that, I just haven't seen him play enough.
Yeah.
Now, so therefore we're taking these croutons to get to the metaphorical chef salad. And I don't have much on Grenard, but Van Ginkel, what I do have, everybody else has, if they're listening, it's there are multiple people who have said his pass coverage as a linebacker is highly underrated. Like nobody ever talks about it. In fact, somebody called him the best pass covering linebacker in the National Football League. And I can't remember who that was. It was just last week. But Van Ginkel rushes, Van Ginkel covers. Grenard's coming off that 12.5. That's, I'm just I'm not the most skeptical person by nature, but when somebody hits a career high at something and they capitalize on it and then they get paid off of it, that's eye-opening for yours truly.
It's the contract year bit.
That's what impressed me so much about Montez Sweat with the Chicago Bears last year. I mean, he got traded and then they immediately, like he played one game.
4-year, $98 million.
Right. Or he might not even have played a game. But they're like, hey, yeah, we've seen all the film and we know about Duran and Jonathan Allen and Chase Young, but we want to let you know we believe in you. And we know what's inside in a different situation. And Montez came through.
He blew up.
Damn. 30 days to the NFL draft, 30 quick-fire statements for y'all. Dan Miller, the play-by-play voice for the Motor City Kitties, is in Orlando at the owners' meetings, and he'll be joining next. What do we got here? Number 7, the NFL draft is the best of all the drafts, and it's not even close. Number 8, what do the guys do on Friday with no second or third round picks? Kwesi and the cast, what do they do on Friday with no second or third round picks? For now. Number 9, next for TJ Hawkinson is making a circus catch. The left them all wide-eyed, super hard catch. Don't know why I thought of that or wrote that, but it needed to be said. Number 10, deal or no deal. JJ is here for the new guy in 24 and maybe the next 2 seasons via the franchise tag in 2025, which is $21 million and change for receivers. Play that game again in 2026, and for Jefferson, it increases 120% or to like $48 million. Number 11, touts. I was touted on NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson. Something called Peyton Wilson being a high-end fit for Flores. Might have to trade into the second round to get him. Number 12, I'm glad they re-signed Jonathan Bullard. Truly a tough customer against the run. Number 13, tout me. Text a tout at 64686. Talk back tout on the NFL draft through the free iHeartRadio app. Tout the 9 to nooner on who you love and or why. Number 14, I was touted on quarterback Spencer Rattler and since. 3 people I respect all have told me, nah, look elsewhere.
I always love that one.
Number 15, the Broncos will give 12, next year's 1, and whatever else is needed, including courtside tickets to the Denver Nuggets to get the quarterback the anti-Vike covets. 16, I was touted on Duke offensive lineman Graham Barton and was told he's the most versatile offensive lineman in the draft. Graham Barton, offensive lineman, Duke. Think Laken Tomlinson, also Duke. Number 17, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is a trip man, and sometimes watching him talk makes me think I'm watching a Beavis and Butthead rerun.
I always love that one.
18, we have a draft party at US Bank Stadium April 25th. Vikings.com for tickets, I'd imagine. The tension is going to be thick. 19, the Bears are going to hit on a quarterback in Caleb Williams and some stud defensive lineman with 1 and 9. What the hell? 20, what do you say to those who believe 11, 23, and next year's first? Way too much to give up, not only for a quarterback, but for anything. 21, it's tried and true. If you don't have the quarterback and the coach, you're not winning the Super Bowl. We have the coach in KOC, who I think is quality stock. How do you then respond to, quote, do it, man, do it. Give whatever it takes for that quarterback, end quote. 22, I have fallen in like with a Florida State wide receiver named Johnny Wilson. I got all his albums. 6'7", plays a little bit like Alshon Jeffrey and is an amazing physical blocker in the run game. Johnny Wilson, FSU, please consider. 23, Blake Brandel is heavily favored to start at left guard for the Minnesota Vikings next year. 24, maybe the Vikings find their way to beast mode and draft a couple of Marshons, running back Lloyd from USC and emerging edge guy Marshawn Nealon from Western Michigan. 25, what about corner? 1st and 10 from the Vikings 15. Wilson takes the snap. Vikings rush 6. Russell throwing it to the end zone. Caught. Cortland Sutton touchdown on Mekhi Blackman. Back left to the end zone. 15-yard touchdown for Cortland Sutton.
excellent work by Russell Wilson because the pocket collapsed on him. Like the Hall of Famer he will be, he stepped up so adroitly, found Sutton. Portland now has 8 touchdowns this year, and the Broncos have taken a 21-20 lead with 1:03 to go.
Mekhi Blackmon could have played that better. He'll get better in his second year. In fact, Mekhi should improve for sure, but
2nd and 10 from the 21. Browning facing Patrick Jones all over him. Throws it up for grabs. Go get it! And it is caught by T. Higgins at the 1, and he reaches the ball into the end zone for a Bengals touchdown. Are you kidding me with that? That's ridiculous. 24-23, Minnesota.
And it's just a jump ball. It's another jump ball. Caleb Evans is right there. Oh, he's
what
standing
a play by T. Higgins.
right
Holy
there,
cow.
and he's just throwing up a jump ball. And
But the way he spun back with his right hand and got the ball over the goal stripe, that was brilliant.
That was pretty incredible.
That's brilliant.
To break the plane.
L's taken on that play by second-year corner Caleb Evans and rookie Mekhi Blackmon. What about corner with all this trade talk? 26. Cornerback. Say 11 and 23 out of play. All right, I like a Saturday special named DeCamerion Richardson. DeCamerion Richardson. Saturday special in that he'll be part of the Saturday draft covenant. 6'2", hits like the Dickens, around a 4.3 40 at Indy. In the teaching of DB's coach Durante Jones, we absolutely trust, so let's give it a whirl. 27. He's not Christian McCaffrey, but what about BC's Christian Mahogany? Continue taking stabs with that offensive line, boys. 28. Tyler Nubin would be so freaking fresh in a Flores-style defense, but I think he'll be in a spot that will make it tough for the Vikings to draft him. 29. Meat Sauce has asked me this 36 times. Do you have any steam? He's significantly outpacing most years with the query, but it's born of love and a quizzical nature. What do you got? Do you have any steam? And finally, number 30 days in front of the draft. The draft is the bomb. 64686 for the texting and the free iHeartRadio app for some Hot Talker Tuesday talk back action. We'll pay that off in the final hour. Back after this.
You want to change the conversation, win some games.
Back to Orlando. Dan, the man on the fan. He's Dan Miller, Fox for the Detroit Lions at Dan Miller, Fox 2. Dan Miller, Fox 2 via the X machine. How was Orlando, my brother?
It's nice, man. When you fly at 32-degree temperatures, and I'm sitting here now looking at palm trees and low 80s and watching people have fun in a pool, I think I made a pretty good switch for a couple days.
Yeah, I agreed. In fact, in the D right now, it's 50 and cloudy. Here in the cornfields of the Twin Cities, man, we got sideways snow. I mean, it's just windy and coming down hard. You're down there Orlando way. I'm moderately shocked. I'm moderately shocked, Dan, that you choose the owners' meetings in Orlando or Arizona over the combine in Indianapolis. I mean, does Fox 2 give you the choice?
It was a tough choice. Yeah. This is an opportunity for us and to come down here and just get some FaceTime with Dan Campbell and with Brad Holmes and with team president Rod Wood yesterday. And I got a chance to talk to our owner, Sheila Hamp, last night and just gave her a hello at the function. So it's a nice chance to just kind of further relationships. We got a chance to sit down for interviews with each of those people as well, with the team president, the GM, and the head coach. So you can get a lot done here, and for us, it just works a little better than Indianapolis, which obviously has a lot of value as well.
Yeah, I watched them all this morning. Excellent work. And you can see these interviews, which I aired on Fox 2 in Detroit, at Dan Miller, Fox 2. At Dan Miller, Fox 2. They're all about 5.5 minutes in duration. And generating some hype or some energy is not hard when working with the Detroit Lions, one of the certainly 5 best teams in the NFL. But the NFL draft in 30 days is in Detroit. I mean, that's going to be so cool, man. What do you TV folks at Fox 2 have planned, and like how excited is the city?
It's daunting, really, because you're trying to cover everything that's happening in downtown Detroit, which is going to be a lot. This goes so far beyond sports, as you know, and as you just alluded to. And Rod Wood, our team president, said, there's going to be several 100,000 people in the city of Detroit. It's a 3-day commercial for the city of Detroit, and with everything that's going on. So you have all that. And then you have, this is also a really big football story as well. So there's a lot going on, and it'll be all hands on deck. This isn't a sports story. It's a sports and a news story, and we hope it's not a weather story. But it's one of those things that I know it's hard for. Detroit has done a very nice job when they've had big events in the past, from the Super Bowl to the Final Four to the All-Star game, that they've had an opportunity to put on, and the city's in a great place right now, and even better than it was when many of those events came through here. And, I've seen the footprint. I've seen the layout. It's going to be a really cool setup. And, it's exciting. We were at the league meeting a couple of years ago when it was announced, and now it's a month away. So, for everybody in Detroit, it's going to be a special time. And it's just, PA, this thing, man. This thing's become one of the biggest events in all of sports, because for every football fan, it just excites you, because you think that maybe the guy that your team drafts can be a difference maker and come in and give you a hope to be a better team than you were a year ago. And it's a 12-month event. We talk about this thing all year that leads up to these 3 days. So to have it in Detroit is obviously very cool, and we're thrilled about it.
And with some of those chats people can see via your Twitter, really cool chat with Lions coach Dan Campbell. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. And you start, you're talking about Cam Sutton, get that out of the way, and then start to get into last year and things like that. And I really appreciated how greatly he and the staff are guarding against complacency. And that may seem trite or cliche. It's like, hey, we were just inches from the Super Bowl. Now we have to guard against complacency. But you know what? Sometimes it's harder to handle a spot like you guys are in than being moribund or just being at the bottom all the time trying to scratch your way up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, look, when you're 5-12, getting to 8 is a nice improvement. And maybe that doesn't seem as significant as what you're trying to do now. And I did talk to Campbell, and it's been a constant theme between some of these others. But when I asked Dan, you took this team from bad to good to really good. Now you're trying to go from really good to great. And that's all that's left. Anything else is going down. You were 30 minutes away from the Super Bowl. So I think they understand that. They understand how close they were. That drives them to make the team better. But there's the other side of it that is, you begin next season on the same level as everybody else. So you have to go back out and earn it. And I think that's one of the reasons that it hurts so much for anybody to lose in a conference championship game. But to lose when you were up 17 points at halftime and to let it get away and feel like you let something slip away, no disrespect to the 49ers. But the understanding that, man, now you got to come back and do it all again. And that's what gives you such respect for teams like the Chiefs and others that have constantly, year after year, put themselves in positions like that. It's not easy. It takes a lot, takes some luck, but it takes a lot of drive and a lot of want to and a lot of sweat equity.
So with the wayward corner, Cam Sutton, released, is he still on the lam? I mean, are authorities still looking for him?
Not heard that he's turned himself in.
Wow.
I obviously can't stay on top of it.
Yeah.
I constantly check to see if something has happened, but obviously he's no longer a member of this football team, but he has not, to my knowledge, turned himself into authorities with the warrant being out for his arrest.
And cool chat with team president Rod Wood at Dan Miller, Fox 2, if you want to watch it, about 5.5 minutes. With the president, I loved how he said a key to success is to hire the right people and let them do their jobs. And I love that in part because it eliminates micromanaging and instills faith in those in whom the bosses believe. Is that a fair way to look at it?
100%. And you know what? I've had friends of mine in Washington where I grew up, and they've said, you guys turn this thing around. They're trying to do it for the whatever umpteenth time there. And, you know, we were having a conversation. He said, what's the key? I said, the key is finding the right people. We've had enough of the wrong people in Detroit that you begin to realize that if you have the right people in place that understand what they're doing and understand not just what they're doing, but also how to do it, PA. And that's why I give a lot of the credit to the team's owner, Sheila Ham, and to Rod Wood, and to Chris Spielman, and to Mike Disner. Before they hired anybody, after they fired Quinn and Patricia, they decided who they wanted to be and how they wanted to do it. They could have just gone out and hired best GM available, best head coach available, and everybody would have said, way to go, good job, you really knocked it out of the park. But you know what? They decided, we want to improve the organization. We want everybody to be able to work together. We want everybody from top to bottom to feel like they're part of something, to feel like they're involved in being part of the Lions. And that had been lost with Detroit under the previous regime. There were people that did not feel valued. There were people that did not feel that they mattered. And I think the owner found that out and said that had to change. So she brought in people that were going to be collaborative. And that's the one word they use constantly in Detroit is collaborative. But it is held up, and it is true, and it is people working together and making sure that everybody around them understands, whether you're in tickets, whether you're in media relations and public relations, working at the stadium, you're part of this thing. And I've been around this organization for 27 years. It's never been better. And I'd have told you that when we were, 500 the year before last or losing games. It was headed in the right direction. I didn't know if they'd start winning, but I knew it was being run better. So, yeah, it's about finding the right people and then the right relationships, you hope come out of that. And that leads you to the other things you have to do, which is obviously drafting and developing and all those things. But, man, if you don't have a well-run organization with the right people in place, you're really going to be fighting an uphill battle.
Hey, man, for the Lions, in my estimation, nice get on DJ Reader once he gets healthy. He got he messed himself up in that game the Vikings were playing at Cincinnati. So I went deep diving him for the game calling depth chart, and I knew who he was, but I mean, holy cow. Yeah. I mean, you pair him with Aleem McNeil once he gets healthy, and adversaries are going to have problems.
Yeah, that's a lot of beef up there. I mean, we all remember when you guys had the Williams wall. So, I mean, what two big guys in the middle can mean to a defense. And we just got done with Brad Holmes, and Brad had said one of the things that he also liked was his ability to get after the passer. He said, it can get better. He said, but it's there. And he believes that's going to help as well. And the Lions have not had much of an interior rush. And they were already good stopping the run last year. He feels like they can be better this year. And the one thing that he said was they came out of free agency feeling like they got their number one choices. They love Amik Robertson. They love the trade they made for Davis. Davenport is a guy that obviously struggled with you guys last year, but Dan Campbell knows him. Aaron Glenn knows him. They were both with him in New Orleans. They're excited for him. And the one thing Brad Holmes said, and this goes back to probably what we were talking about, PA, look, we got the guys we wanted in free agency. We got our number one guys. Understanding, his words, they may not be anybody else's number one guys, but we're building our team. And I think that confidence born out of the results that they've had so far. Remember, last year, people were ready to kill him for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, number 12 overall. You don't draft a running back that high. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs turned out to be one of the more explosive players in the league and a huge player in what they do. So these guys are going to do it the way they believe it should be done. And DJ Reader is certainly a part of that. He was a guy that they gave a 2-year contract to. They haven't been giving out a lot of multi-year contracts in free agency, but he's a big part of what they want to do. And I think the one thing that jumps out about this regime, just kind of all-encompassing of what we've been talking about, is they've earned equity. They've earned our confidence in what they're doing. Now, it doesn't guarantee you anything, but it does make you say, okay, I kind of see what you're cooking here and what you want to do. And that's really where what he talked about today was their choices, the guys they wanted, and putting them in place.
You think it's important for the team to get Jared Goff signed before the season?
I think it's going to happen. I mean, they don't talk about those things publicly, but I do think you'll see a contract for Jared. I do think you'll see a contract for Amon-Ra. At some point, I think you'll see a contract for Aleem McNeil and down the line for Penei Sewell. I mean, look, these guys are the cornerstones of this football team. These are the guys that they've drafted and developed, outside of Goff, obviously. But I do believe they're going to happen. I don't know what the state of the conversations are, but there's no doubt in my mind that Jared wants to be here. Brad Holmes made the point last year when talking about Jared, and you always have people say, well, you got a more mobile quarterback. And his answer was, look, it's a lot easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better. And I think they love what Jared has done. Amon-Ra is just every single thing top to bottom you could want in a football player. So I think he'll be here for a long time. So yeah, I think these things will get done. And it's for me, it's a matter of when, not if.
Lastly, Dan Miller, play-by-play voice for the Detroit Lions. Utter disaster here last year with Marcus Davenport, mostly due to injuries. Do you feel the 1-year piece the Lions gave him is more of a prove-it deal, or is he a cinch to make the squad?
Yeah, I think it's a prove-it deal. I believe he'll make the squad. I think they envision him being. Look, you go into it with an understanding of what his history is. Again, Dan Campbell was with him in New Orleans. Aaron Glenn was on that defensive staff when he was there in New Orleans. They know him. They went into this thing with their eyes wide open, understanding what his career has been, but also understanding what their personal experiences with him have been. They believe that he can be somebody on the other side of Hutch with a James Houston and with whoever else emerges in this offseason at defensive end, and provide a little bit of help for Hutch, because that was a big problem this past season. That was really all they had along the defensive line. So, yeah, I think anytime you're getting a 1-year deal, it's a prove it. Let's see what you can do. I fully anticipate he'll be on the team. I fully anticipate if healthy, he'll get the chance to play a significant role in this team. But I would call that a bit of a roll of the dice, but also one that they understood because of their history with the player.
Hey, man, great work down there. Really cool watching back those TV interviews. Safe travels back home, and I'm sure we'll catch up right in front of the draft, all right?
I appreciate it, PA. Look forward to it. Thank you.
See you, buddy. Dan, the man on the fan. For about 2 decades, he's been the play-by-play voice of the Detroit Lions.
Fox.
Be right back.
Welcome back to 9 to Noon. It is News du Nord, brought to you by Canterbury's Card Casino, also known as The Casino at Canterbury Park. And you can go to canterburypark.com for all event details, including live racing that's kicking off mid-May. Believe it or not, you look out the window, it's not always going to be like this. So think ahead to greener, warmer days. And also think about, speaking of green, feeling that felt, because you got poker, blackjack, and table games all year round at The Casino at Canterbury Park, having sips at chips and tipping Derek Allen quite well. So CanterburyPark.com. We'll start here. Minnesota Timberwolves, according to Johnny Krasinski, and Shams Charania have reported that the Timberwolves, they loved T.J. Warren's 2 10-day contract windows so much, PA, that they're signing him for the remainder of the season. 14 minutes on average, about 4 points a game. Of course, off the bench, couple of boards and assists, steal here and there, shooting about 40%. Has T.J. Warren stood out to you at all? Getting more reps, of course, because we're in and out with all these injuries. But other than just, we got a guy on the bench, little veteran cachet, and we move forward.
Well, without Karl Anthony Towns, having somebody of size, and most importantly for me, somebody who knows how to play the game, that's what I think went into it. When Smiley and I were in Los Angeles for the Lakers and Clippers games, TJ played quite a bit, because of the injuries and stuff like that. And, as the game would go on, you could tell that his legs were getting tired. Now, T.J. Warren, whether it's Phoenix or Indiana, my man's a born scorer. I mean, he can really, really score the basketball when he's in shape, the conditioning's good, and physically speaking, he's close to 100%. So I think the reason they're going to bring him back is he's a deep bench guy, not a big three-point shooting guy, but he knows how to play the game. And at this time of the year, it's almost important having people who don't get you beat compared to those, on whom you may take flyers, like Luka Garza is a three-point guy. That would be a flyer. T.J. Warren in limited minutes, he's going to give somebody a break and not get you beat.
With the Wolves playing tomorrow night, they have an opportunity. I believe it would be the fastest in franchise history. It would be their 50th win if they defeat the Detroit Pistons, who are in town at Target Center tomorrow night. Fifth 50-win season in their 35-year history as a franchise, PA. The first, of course, since they made that conference title series appearance in 2004. So looking forward to that. But we do have to wait until tomorrow night for that tip-off. I got some betting bits for you here, PA. Some audio. Now, it's not audio of Shohei Ohtani speaking on his own accord. They just had to find him a new interpreter, PA, because his former interpreter might be going to jail regarding crimes related to financially stealing from somebody. Was he stealing from somebody? He was involved in a bookmaking operation in California where sports betting is illegal. Ipe Muzahara is the name. And yesterday, Shohei Ohtani met with the media. He says, no, I never agreed to pay off those debts.
So up until that team meeting, I didn't know that Ipe had a gambling addiction and was in debt. And obviously, I never agreed to pay off the debt or, make payments to the bookmaker.
Okay, well...
Wait, that was Shohei?
That was the interpreter.
I was like, why the hell does he need an interpreter? Holy cow.
He also said that Mizahara admitted to using his account.
And finally, when we went back to the hotel and talked one-to-one, that was when I found out that he had a massive debt. And it was revealed to me during that meeting that Ipe admitted that he was sending money using my account to the bookmaker.
So the key here is that he was stealing.
Up until a couple of days ago, I didn't know that this was happening. In conclusion, Ipe has been stealing money from my account and has told lies.
And finally, firstly, bringing this back to the start, PA, is, all of this. Okay, so it's all the interpreter. Everything's going, well, what about you, Ohtani? Have you ever bet on sports?
So I never bet on baseball or any other sports, or never have asked somebody to do it on my behalf. And I have never went through a bookmaker to bet on sports.
So I just think about it like this, PA. I don't know how much money the interpreter is making, but you're running a book, and it's an illegal one. So are you getting bankrolled by somebody out of Vegas where these bets are being made legally? How all of those things work, I'm not familiar with that. But in the end, the interpreter is a guy that, let's say he makes a couple $100,000. He makes $250,000 a year to speak English for Shohei Ohtani, let's say, however much it is. If you're a bookie, would you allow an interpreter to rack up $4.5 million in debt? Or is it because he is the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani that allows that $4.5 million debt to take place?
Yeah, it's both. You'll let them run amok because that's how those of the seedy variety work.
And you just crush their lives?
Well, no. It's in my experience or in knowing people who have worked in that business over the years, they'll cut deals. So the farther somebody gets in arrears, well, then the more the deal cutting's still going to benefit the bookmaker. So my man's down $4.5 million. This whole thing probably could have been handled, I don't know, for $3 million, 2 point whatever million. And then it's just like, let's not have any complaints or anything like that. But something clearly went astray during the run. Secondly, the more high profile your client, the better that is for those of the seedy variety. Simply because, you can be like, okay, well, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to call this person. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to call YA, and the Athletic's going to blow something up. So you have, this is also diseased even to talk like this.
Yeah.
But you have the upper hand. You have the leverage to get what you want because the perp has what you want, money. So therefore, you're going to do whatever you can to get what you want, the money. And quite honestly, if there was some type of an agreement and money had gone back and forth between interp and person taking bets from perp, the interp perp, well, then that means that they've taken your money at some point. Now you're going to want it back. So that's just kind of how the business works.
And I had asked you via text. Again, I'm so daft and dumb to all of this, where,
You don't have to say that.
But I'm trying to think of a scenario.
Minnesota is not a sophisticated sports betting state. Same thing with horse racing and handicapping and stuff. So yeah, you're not alone. So you don't have to say that.
But so to that end, though, is I'm thinking if I'm a bookie and I'm taking bets, and one of my bettors is a guy that has direct inside information to, at this point in time, it'd be the Los Angeles Angels. And he's directly connected to Shohei Ohtani. To the point, by the way, it sounds like through the investigation by the feds that he was making it known that Ohtani was one of his clients or using that name, even though technically the interpreter apparently is the guy making the bet. So the leverage of Ohtani as a star, to your point, was being used by Mr. Boyer, the bookie. If I know he has inside info, why would I want to take massive bets that clearly show a lean in said Angels game, to the degree where if he has inside info and he knows that Ohtani's going to be a late scratch, or he knows that XY he's not taking on this start, well, and then he goes high in on a first 5 bet of some sort, or an under in a particular game, or an over in a particular game, do I as a bookie feel, should I take that bet? Because then also do I feel like I also have to go get action on the other side of it to leverage out or even out the loss? That's just curious to me.
What you're saying is not gullible, but is not ill-informed. Okay, but the only thing I would eliminate from the equation with you, or with that angle, is the stature or status of the individuals making the bets. And here's why. Because like I said earlier, the bigger the name, the bigger the payoff for the person taking the bets, because generally speaking, those of the seedy variety have less to lose than those making the bets.
That would be true, yeah.
Okay, so Shohei Ohtani, I mean, now Shohei, if it's proven Shohei Ohtani bet $100,000 on an Angels game, he might be done.
Not might be. I mean, he'd be banned immediately, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume so. So, but with that said, I liked how frontal he was by saying, I never did this, I never did that, I never did that. In essence, saying, here, kitty, go ahead and check whatever you want, and you're not going to see anything from me. Now, if I'm Shohei, whether he's big concern guy or not, it's, well, now your dog, it's because there will be those who think your dog, the perp, the one taking the fall here, is simply taking the fall because of things you have done.
Yep.
And there's going to be a handshake of like, bro, okay, you already got $2.9 million for this. I got 10 for you in the Swiss bank account, but you got to take this L. And that's just how it's going to work. And they're close enough friends to know that it will work that way. And finally, has it been, if I missed this, I apologize. Has it been stated that there are concerns some of these bets were on Angels games?
No. At this stage, they haven't made any connections to baseball.
I'm betting pardon the pun, I'm suggesting that's a long shot.
And me too. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact that he was so frontal about not betting.
I mean,
because
let me get this in. Like, the only other example we have is Pete Rose. All right. Well, if you go back and read the Pete Rose stories, I mean, my man was altering the bullpen in tightly contested games where, like, Mario Soto was on fumes. This is a metaphor. It's an example. Like Mario Soto's on fumes. It's 6-2. The over-under's 8.5. And he's thrown 113 pitches. He keeps him in another inning. Because the chances are it's an odds-based, it's a chance-taking, calculated type situation.
You're going to hit the over and still win the game.
Yeah, right. So therefore, all right, we're going to let Mario, and again, I'm just making stuff up, but he would alter games during games, Reds games on which he was betting, where we're going to let Mario stay in. He's out of gas, man, but he's tough. He's Mario Soto tough. Well, now all of a sudden you got 2 on, no out. You bring in the next guy. All right, well, he strikes somebody out. Then there's a walk, bases loaded, single, 6-4. You win and you cash. So he was playing games like that.
Oof.
I would, if I were to ride discernment, it would be that's not the case here with this at all. Perp asking Shohei to lay down on something and purposely strike out 2 times because Shohei never strikes out. I need you to purposely strike out twice so I can cash on this plus 380 on the over strikeouts. Like, I would eliminate that. But, finally, this is the last thing Major League Baseball is going to want to deal with. We're into a season.
Correct.
So I'm not going to say they're going to fix the race. If there are things that need to emerge so that people can be suspended. If it's a criminal case, that's a different situation. But I think we're kind of about done with Shohei where we are now.
Yeah, I lean towards, I believe that he did not bet.
Yeah, so do I.
But I also believe that he 100% knew that this kind of stuff was going on.
So do I.
So are we protecting, is there potential criminality that he made payments to the bookie? So technically that transaction in itself is willful, and what the laws are in relation to that?
Wow.
I don't know. But betting's going to become the theme of NDN right now. And you can legally bet, as in poker, blackjack, and table games at Canterbury Park.
Yeah.
But sports betting now in other areas of the country also legal. JB Bickerstaff, did you hear about this? He was in town last week. The Wolves playing the Cavs on Friday night. But he was talking about that he gets threats from sports gamblers because of how games turn out. And he says, this is what he says. They got my telephone number, were sending me crazy messages about where I live and my kids and all that stuff. It's a dangerous game and a fine line that we're walking for sure.
Wow.
He told security a specific gambler was located. So a person that reached out to JB, no charges were filed, which means they probably just tough-talked that guy into oblivion and probably is scared for his life.
Well, if you're threatening somebody's family or an individual over a point spread, that's a terroristic threat. So that's a gross misdemeanor to start.
Totally with you.
If JB's telling the truth.
So if JB is telling the truth and no charges were filed, there could have been some sort of Are you a complete moron? Are you a total dumbass?
Yeah.
Do you really want to ruin your life over phone calls to me because we won by 7 instead of 6?
Yeah.
And you're playing some kind of spread game here?
Yeah.
Get over yourself. Stop it. So whatever happened, who knows? No charges were filed. But that jumps me into, so Bickerstaff's getting threats from gamblers. You saw this Raptors bit, didn't you? I believe his name is Jonte Porter.
Yeah, it's Michael Porter Jr.'s younger brother.
So apparently Jonte Porter, who I didn't know existed, had some of the most popular prop bets over the course of a couple of games in which the Porter props were set at 5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds.
I'm glad you looked that up.
And 1.5 assists.
Yeah, because I saw that the tens of thousands were coming in on the unders, but I didn't take time to look at what types of numbers are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this was the January 26th game against the Clippers. His props, 5.5 points, 4.5 boards, 1.5 assists. That evening, Porter played just 4 minutes before leaving the game because of what the Raptors said was an aggravation of an eye injury he had suffered 4 days earlier. So Porter did not score against the Clippers.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
I didn't see that part.
3 rebounds and just 1 assist. Did not attempt a 3, meaning the under hit on all of his props.
Oh, wow.
The next day, as a part of daily report to users on betting results, DraftKings Sportsbook stated that the under on Porter's three-pointers was the biggest money winner for bettors of any NBA player prop from games that evening.
Jeez.
March 20th against the Kings, he played just 3 minutes before exiting because of what the Raptors said was an illness and did not return.
Wow.
Sports bettors
Common thread.
Had his over-unders set at 7.5 points, 5.5 rebounds. The next day, Sportsbook from DraftKings, Porter's prop bets were once again the number one moneymaker in the NBA that evening. So a little bit of potentially inside work being done by Mr. Porter as well.
Well, wow. The fact that both games he left came down to his choice of how he feels or his eye feels is very, very ominous, because I just don't know a trainer who's going to jump up to somebody and say, hey, how's that eye? I mean, it looks like it doesn't feel great. Well, how can you tell how my eye feels? I just thought I would add. It's part of my job. So he tapped out. He tapped out at a certain part of the game where those unders were hitting. The smoking gun in this bit is, you see, if you're fancying wagers on proposition bets, so think the Super Bowl, Isaiah Pacheco over 32.5 yards or under 32.5 yards, coin toss, heads or tails. Those are prop bets. If prop bet maximums at casinos in the United States of America or online entities generally are $1,000 to $2,000 max. All right. They don't let you load up on the props because that's where you get weird things that happen. But if you really, really, really are doing your homework and you have an angle on something and you get something at plus 650, and then you're going to load up 10 grand on it. Well, now all of a sudden, you got 65 dimes coming your way. 55 profit after the initial 10. Okay, so prop wagers can get casinos and bookmakers in trouble. That's why there is generally a maximum on how much you can wager. And that's akin to
$1,000 to $2,000. Yes,
at most places. That's akin to preseason football, where people may get inside information that, let's say Raheem Morris is going to play chains through the fourth quarter with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, but nobody else knows that. Well, you just can't roll in and bet 50 large on a preseason football game for this very reason. But so the smoking gun is how he tapped out and when, and it was of his will. That's going to be a problem. Secondly, casinos.orgs, coms, bizzes, or whatever, those are the watchdogs for the professional sports leagues. Those are the watchdogs for Division I collegiate sports. Those are the ones like when Arizona State University was fixing games, led by a guard named Steven Headache Smith. Well, the thing is that there would be certain games where you had half of Arizona. I mean, this guy and those people were so stupid. There would be games where half of Arizona was trekking up to Las Vegas before gambling was legal anywhere in the United States of America. Trekking up to Vegas, and it's you go to Mandalay Bay, I'll go to Planet Hollywood, you go to Caesars, I will go to Bally's, you go to Horseshoe, and I'll handle the link. Well, all at the same time, they were all betting 5 to 20 grand on an Arizona State basketball game. Like nobody would ever catch that. Seriously. That's how the whole thing got turned in.
Yeah. Dennis
Lundy, former running back for the Northwestern Wildcats. He dropped a football at Kinnick for $300 freaking dollars. But he was turned in by the people who took the wager because something fell apart. Right. It's like, I got you. Yeah, you got him. For just $300.
For $300.
So that's kind of how it all works. And and Michael Porter Jr.'s younger brother, man, he's in the belly of the beast right now. Unlike Ben Gessling, he's in Orlando, Florida at the owners' meetings. And we'll hook up with the Scribe, who covers the team for the Star Tribune, next on KFAN.